culture is in for a monstrous sea change very, very soon. And just simply, I mean, the AI revolution is upon us, right? And hasn't hit us yet. None of us here have really, aside from Siri, have really encountered it. They're being designed, and each iteration gets more and more powerful, right, to push our buttons. And when you look at the research, people love these things. In some cases, people prefer these things to actual human beings, right? Because human relationships are tough. They require work. And what does technology do? It relieves us of toughness and work, right? So if human meaning, if you look at human meaning as being an ecology that depends upon a certain kind of ancestral habitat, right, being intact. In other words, where the only people pushing each other's social cognitive buttons are other people, right? Like these kinds of interfaces. Then what you're looking at with AI is basically introducing invasive species. Unlimited numbers, right, of differently designed invasive species into our social ecologies, right? We'll be talking to our phones. When it hits, it's gonna, at first, it's what's going on here, right? Whoa, this is creepy. And then it's going to get really weird, really fast. And the ecology, human social ecology, which is already under duress, simply because of connectivity, right, is gonna find itself boom, like Australia. But they kept introducing new species, and they've just eradicated the original ecologies of Eastern Australia, basically trying to solve problems by basically adding new invasive species, right? And we're talking about, the biggest growth industry in technology today is designing different species to parasitize human social ecology. And that's the semantic apocalypse, right? That's it, right? Where it's so easy to just hang out with flattering voices that when you actually encounter other human voices, it gets difficult. It's alienating. Other people are alienating, right? These kids that Twenge talks about, it's absolutely bizarre. It really is. When they discovered, for instance, that social rejection lights up the pain networks in the human brain, right? So I smash your toe with a hammer, and if I have you in fMRI, right, your nucleus accumbens and all these parts of your brain light up, right? But if I put you in an fMRI and I get you to play a game called Cyberball, where it's just a simple cartoon, right? And you're one of the cartoon players, and you're told that the other two cartoon players are two other people connected via the internet that are part of the study, right? And in Cyberball, you play catch. And everyone plays catch, and it's nice and it's happy, but then suddenly the other two players start playing more and more amongst themselves. And then eventually they don't play catch with you at all, right? Then boom, your pain centers light up the same way they would if someone smashed your toe with a hammer, right? Social rejection causes real pain. And what seems to be happening with kids who have smartphones and are on social media all the time is that they find themselves playing a game of cyberball. So they look and they read it, and if they're not the gregarious ones, if they're not the socially proactive ones, right, what ends up happening is they end up getting intimidated by it. And they end up seeing all these other people having fun and being liked. And they feel social rejection, right? So social media is turned into basically a cyberball experiment, right? Only it's a whole generation of kids, and there's no end to it. And it's having these catastrophic consequences. And now we're gonna flood the market with what? Artificial friends. What the hell is an artificial friend? What is an artificial friend? I mean, isn't an artificial friend by definition a false friend, a non-friend, right? Like I really, really worry about the future, right? And this AI stuff just it freaks me out that nobody's talking about it. That the debate is, almost entirely either, oh, this is the greatest thing to ever happen, right? Or it's Skynet and robots mowing us down in the street, right? I mean, those are the two poles of the debate. And then there's worries, but the social worries are always economic, right? I mean, we're going to lose jobs and stuff. I mean, no one likes thinking of human beings as, and human cognition especially, as ecological. So no one's talking about, the semantic apocalypse at all. And that worries me. What happens beyond that, I mean, it's just, there's just no way of guessing, right? I mean, you'd like to hope that we somehow have the versatility that we need to sort of get a grip, see what's going on, get a grip. But the problem is how do you get the whole world together, to actually agree, to not seek a competitive edge. So it just seems to me that we're kind of doomed to chase this hole all the way to the bottom. So no, and it worries me. I mean, it keeps me awake some nights, right? So all the stuff I write about Socratic society, so this notion, the idea, the book review I do of Homo Deus, Yuval Harari's book, right? I mean, it's really, I think, pretty clearly laid out at the end of that book review. I know it's way too long, but I really think that that's basically what's going to happen up to a point, is that you're going to have people just move into fantasy world, because the technology's there to let them do it. You don't actually need to agree with your neighbor on anything, once everything is mediated, by these cognitive artifacts, these AIs, right? Once you have these species of go-betweens, occupying the spaces between us all, right? In a sense, we can all go our own direction, and believe whatever we want. The reality principle, in a sense, doesn't really apply politically anymore. I mean, so I think that's, so that's why, Harari thinks that, once humanism's dead, that the myth that binds us all together will be something like digitalism or something like that. And I think he just completely, he just mistakes the radical nature of the change. The species will just end up basically bricking itself in against itself, because why deal with other human beings when you don't need them? And for all kinds of ancestral reasons, it's hard to get along with other human beings. I mean, our user experience will be improved and amplified to the point where we don't need to actually bother with the difficulties of genuine human interaction. So that's my guess as to what happens after the collapse, the semantic apocalypse. And then what happens after that, I mean, who the hell knows, right? This isn't like a cultural transformation. I mean, this is like a transformation in the nature of life on this planet. It's what it is, and it's every bit as profound as multicellular life, right? Springing out of archaic bacterial forms, right? I mean, it's the point at which our ability to, right now we can do all kinds of things. It all depends on what we are, right? Hardware constrains behavior, right? But the behavior is becoming so sophisticated now that the hardware is actually starting to become more and more software-like, right? It's becoming more and more plastic. And at a certain point, when the hardware no longer constrains the behavior, right? it really just simply becomes unthinkable. And my friend David Roden, he calls it hyperplasticity, right? I mean, it's this notion where our ability to change ourselves is so complete that our abilities just become exponential, and there's no real constraint or anything, you know. I mean, it just, a couple of blog posts, I think I referred to it as the big splat. Crash space is just so rudimentary compared to the splat, but it really shows you, because it's right on the boundary, yeah. And so you can actually see the madness, because who's right? I mean, those arguments in that short story, I mean, who is right? You know, is the humanist right? You know, or are the tweakers right? You know, I mean, should we, you know, are we authentic to the degree we resemble chimpanzees? Wow, man, that's pretty tough, you know? Or, you know, should we become living shoeboxes, you know, basically ornamental right down to our souls? I mean, there's no answer to that, just simply because the heuristics that, you know, we've inherited to help us solve these kinds of problems have no application. You know, we've moved completely. Society is moving beyond the point at which our tools, you know, to actually solve moral problems have any applicability whatsoever. You know, all you got to do is look at something like neuroethics, I think, you know, with a critical eye, and you can see really quickly that no one knows what the hell's going on. I mean, people take positions and they build careers around them, right? But everything is underdetermined and will never be determined, right? There's no obvious answer to any of it. You know, every position you stake falls apart because the questions asked are simple questions, right? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess for me, it's part of the reason why it's important to try to get the word out, right? Because I mean, if we're going to have any chance to actually slow things down or get a grip on what's happening, you know, we have to know it. You can't raise walls, you know, against what's been forgotten or not even glimpsed in the first place, right?